In the year 897 AD, whispers swept through Rome. Something unholy was about to happen. The people gathered in silence, clutching candles, afraid to speak of what they'd heard. Rumors spread of a trial, but the accused was already dead. Pope Stephen VI had given an order that defied reason itself. The corpse of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, was to be exhumed and judged. By torchlight, the dead pontiff was carried into the Basilica of St. John Lateran. They dressed the corpse in full papal robes, the ring forced onto a bony finger. The air was thick with incense and fear. Even the guards crossed themselves, afraid of what they were witnessing. The corpse was placed on the throne, as if alive. In the candlelight, his hollow eyes seemed to follow the crowd. The living Pope Stephen sat across from him, his face pale, his hands shaking. The court began. The dead would now be judged by the living. The charge, violating church law by becoming pope while already bishop of another city. The accuser shouted as if the dead man could answer. The corpse remained silent, but its silence terrified all who watched. A deacon was chosen to speak for the dead. He answered each charge in defense of the corpse, voice breaking with fear. The crowd stared, half believing they were witnessing the devil's work. Pope Stephen rose from his throne, shouting accusations into the face of the dead. He screamed that Formosus was unworthy of the papal seat. Witnesses said Stephen's voice echoed like thunder. Outside, lightning split the sky over Rome. The corpse began to lean, the papal crown tilting slightly. A gasp swept through the crowd. Some swore the dead pope moved. Superstition spread like fire. They believed the dead resisted judgment. But the trial continued. The sentence was already decided. Formosus was declared guilty, even in death. His papacy was voided, his acts undone. The corpse was stripped of robes and ring. The papal crown rolled down the steps and stopped at Stephen's feet. Some said it was a sign. Others said it was justice. The mutilation followed. His 3 fingers of blessing were cut off. The hall stank of incense and fear. The corpse was dragged from the throne and thrown into the street. People stared as papal robes soaked in mud. By dawn, Rome had seen the trial of a corpse. It would be remembered as the Cadaver Synod, the darkest trial in papal history. But history wasn't done with Pope Formosus yet. The dead pope would soon haunt the living. Rumors spread of strange noises in the basilica at night. Some claimed to see the ghost of Formosus rise from the Tiber. The people whispered, God had not forgiven Rome. Fear spread through the city, even among priests. Pope Stephen began to lose his mind. He claimed the corpse spoke to him in dreams. His nightmares grew worse, his guilt unbearable. Within months, he would face the same fate he gave another. Rome's revenge was coming, and the curse of the Cadaver Synod had only begun. The year is 897 AD. In the dark heart of Rome, whispers echo through the stone halls of St. Peter's Basilica. Pope Formosus has been dead for months, yet his name still strikes fear into the clergy. A new pope, Stephen VI, orders something unimaginable: to dig up the body of his predecessor. Guards unearth a decayed coffin and lift it from the tomb, the city asleep under storm clouds. The corpse of Formosus is carried through the Vatican corridors, draped in rotting silk robes. The dead pope is dressed in his full papal regalia, tiara, ring, and vestments. A throne is prepared in the basilica. The lifeless body is seated to face a tribunal. It's called the Cadaver Synod, a trial where the dead pope will be judged by the living. Stephen VI sits across from the corpse, his eyes full of hatred and madness. A deacon is forced to act as Formosus's defense, speaking for the corpse's decayed mouth. The air reeks of death and incense as thunder rolls outside the basilica. The charges are absurd, violating canon law, ambition, and crimes of the dead. Stephen Thwaites' voice cracks as he screams at the corpse, demanding answers. The court erupts in hysteria. Monks avert their gaze. Some faint from horror. The verdict: guilty. Even in death, Formosus is condemned. His papal robes are stripped. His fingers, once used for blessings, are cut off. The body is dragged from the throne and thrown into the streets of Rome. Crowds gather, some weeping, some cheering. Superstition grips the city. Later, his desecrated corpse is cast into the river Tiber. Weeks later, rumors spread. The river refuses to keep the dead pope. Some claim miracles occur where his body touched the water. Others whisper curses, saying Rome is now haunted by its own sin. The people begin to revolt against Stephen VI's cruelty. Stephen flees the basilica, but the ghosts of his actions follow him. Within months, Stephen VI is imprisoned and strangled in his cell. The church tries to hide the event, erasing every document of the trial. But stories of the Cadaver Synod spread through Europe like wildfire. Painters and chroniclers secretly record what they saw, hiding it in vaults. The image of a dead pope on trial becomes the ultimate symbol of church corruption. Centuries later, historians would call it one of the darkest acts in papal history. The Vatican corridors fall silent for weeks after the Cadaver Synod, priests refusing to speak of it. Those who attended the trial begin dying mysteriously, one by one. Some say they saw Formosus's ghost walking near the Tiber, his robes dripping with river water. Fishermen swear that the water itself glowed blue on nights of thunder. The people of Rome begin to believe the city is cursed. The Tiber becomes known as the River of the Dead Pope. Years later, a new pope orders Formosus's body to be recovered and reburied with honor. When the coffin is opened, they find the body perfectly preserved, untouched by decay. This miracle shocks even his enemies. Whispers of sainthood begin. Formosus's name is quietly restored, his decrees reinstated by the church. But the memory of the trial can't be erased. It stains every papal crown. The cathedral itself becomes a place of dread after dark. Some guards claim to hear whispers from the throne where the corpse once sat. Others refuse to enter the church alone, fearing they'll see him seated again. Years pass, yet every storm that hits Rome reminds the people of the Synod's curse. The legend spreads across Europe, inspiring painters, poets, and reformers. For centuries, the story of Pope Formosus becomes a warning of power and madness. Even in modern times, visitors claim to feel a chill when they walk near the old tomb. The Church never speaks of the Cadaver Synod again, And beneath the stones of Rome, the ghost of Formosus still sits on his throne, judging the living. The desecrated corpse of Pope Formosus is secretly buried, yet rumors of his unrest spread through Rome. Citizens whisper of strange sounds coming from the crypts at night. Monks report unexplainable drafts and cold spots in the basilica. A storm floods the streets, washing debris and revealing hidden bones. Priests begin to fear divine wrath for condemning the dead. Reports of apparitions reach the Pope. He locks the church at night. The Tiber reflects ghostly lights, said to be Formosus's spirit wandering. Peasants see visions of a papal figure floating above ruins. A council is called to restore order, yet fear dominates every word. Some believe the church itself is cursed, that Rome is now haunted by its own sins. The new pope orders prayers for forgiveness, but the dead remain restless. Pilgrims claim miracles near the Tiber, where the body was cast. Strange illnesses strike the clergy and commoners alike. Every corner of Rome seems touched by unease and superstition. Chroniclers secretly write the events, hiding manuscripts in secret vaults. Rumors of Formosus's curse travel across Europe, chilling distant monarchs. Relics stolen from churches are said to scream when touched. Rome itself becomes a city of secrets and fear. Night more terrifying than day. The memory of the Cadaver Synod cannot be erased, surviving in whispers. Even centuries later, visitors claim chills near the tomb, a silent reminder of history. The streets of Rome are tense. Citizens whisper of divine punishment after the Cadaver Synod. Noble families argue over the church's authority, fearing the Pope's wrath. Riots erupt near the Vatican, peasants clashing with guards under storm clouds. Merchants close their shops. The economy falters as fear spreads. Lightning strikes the basilica during a violent thunderstorm, sending clergy scrambling. The Pope struggles to maintain control as whispers of curses haunt the city. Priests secretly pray for forgiveness while fearing political reprisals. The Tiber floods, destroying bridges and homes, adding to the city's terror. Citizens believe these disasters are signs from the dead Pope himself. Rumors spread that statues of saints weep blood as punishment. Political factions blame each other, turning Rome into a city of suspicion. The papal court grows paranoid, fearing assassination and rebellion. Storms and floods continue, reinforcing the people's belief in divine anger. A secret council discusses removing all traces of the Cadaver Synod. Chroniclers hide records, fearing the Pope's wrath, but preserving the truth. Stories of ghostly apparitions spread among soldiers guarding the Vatican. Merchants and citizens secretly conduct prayers to ward off curses. Some claim miracles, sick children recovering, floods receding mysteriously. Rome becomes a city of superstition, fear, and uneasy peace. The city remembers, history whispering the lesson of hubris and corruption. Rome stands quiet after the storm. The echo of judgment fades into the stone. The throne that once held power now gathers dust. Formosus lies forgotten beneath cold marble, yet his story still whispers in prayer halls. Those who mocked the dead met their own end in silence. The church tried to bury the sin, But history kept breathing through the cracks. Centuries later, the Cadaver Synod remains the shadow the Vatican never escapes. Faith rebuilt the walls, but guilt still walks the corridors of power. And somewhere, beneath the marble and memory, the dead Pope rests, finally at peace